Ready to escape into a world of enchanting pixels? What is up, my peeps? And today we're going to be reading The Little Mermaid. The enchanting mer-people, half fish, half human, dwelled in a shimmering kingdom at the bottom of the sea. Their ruler, King Triton, was the father of 7 daughters. The youngest was named Ariel. She had a beautiful voice and loved to sing. Although Ariel disobeyed her father now and then, he loved her with all his heart. Ariel and her best friend, a fish called Flounder, spent most of their time exploring sunken shipwrecks. Whenever they found a human treasure, like a worn belt buckle or a rusty old lamp, Ariel would add it to her collection, which she kept hidden in a cave. One day, Ariel came across 2 objects she'd never seen before, a silver fork and a pipe. "Flounder, look," she said. "Maybe Scuttle can tell us what these are." They swam to the water's surface to find the seagull. Spotting them from his rocky perch, Scuttle gave out a cheerful squawk. Ariel showed Scuttle her new treasures. He said, examining the fork. "I do believe this is a dinglehopper. Humans use it to comb their hair. It's a funny name for a comb, dinglehopper. Here, I'll show you." He twirled the feathers on his head into a fluffy hairdo. "And this," the gull continued, pointing to the pipe, "is a snarfblat?" "What the... Snarfblat, which humans blow in to make music?" Oh god. Anyway, "Music!" Ariel cried. "I completely forgot. I'm supposed to sing at the royal concert today." "Sorry, Scuttle, but I've got to go." Flounder trailed after Ariel as she dove down to her father's palace. "What am I going to do with you, Ariel?" asked King Triton. "You have the most beautiful voice in the kingdom, yet you've missed the concert." He gestured towards a disappointed-looking crab. Poor Sebastian was beside himself when you didn't appear. Sebastian, the court composer, scurried up to her. "Princess Ariel," he said, shaking his claw at her. "Because of your forgetfulness, the entire program was ruined." It wasn't Ariel's fault," Flounder said. "It took Scuttle forever to figure out about the dinglehopper and snarfblat." "You visited that seagull?" King Triton asked, glaring at Ariel. "How many times have I told you not to travel to the surface? You might have been seen by one of those horrible humans." "Do you think I want my youngest daughter snarled? Snared? Oh, yeah, I think it is pronounced snared. Snared by some fish-eater's hook?" Knowing it was no use arguing, Ariel apologized and swam off with Flounder. Sebastian edged forward and cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, if I may suggest something, I think Ariel needs constant supervision. You know, someone to watch over her." "A fine idea." Triton beamed. "A fine idea, Sebastian," he declared, "and you're just the one to do it." Sebastian followed Ariel into her cave of treasures. "How do I get myself in these situations?" he crabbed. "I should be writing symphonies." Sebastian's eyes goggled. Piled high among the walls were pocket watches, mirrors, eyeglasses, vases, telescopes, paintings, and pots. Human treasures of every kind. Ariel carefully placed the fork and pipe among them. "Father must be mistaken," she told Flounder. "How could humans be so bad when they make such wonderful things?" "Oh, Ariel, you have no idea." Anyway, she held... Also, what the heck is this picture? Why does it look so realistic? Okay, moving on. She held up an old teapot. I like to meet these humans. I like to trade my fins in for a couple of feet. If only I could have one day on land, I'd run around and... Oh, Sebastian! "Ariel," he scolded. "If your father heard you talking that way, he'd flip out." Suddenly, a large form floating on the surface cast a dark shadow on the sea floor. What do you suppose that is?" Ariel said, but before Sebastian could stop her, she rose to the surface. On some nearby rocks, Sebastian scolded Ariel. "We're going to forget this ever happened," he said. "Your father must never know." But all Ariel could do was gaze at the prince in the distance, limping away with Grimsby towards the castle. "Ariel," said Flounder, bobbing up next to her, "come see what I've just found." Ariel followed her friend among the coral-covered seafloor as they approached her secret cave, and they saw a tall form shining in the sun's slanted rays. "It's Eric's statue!" cried Ariel. This is the greatest treasure of all. Meanwhile, in a dark grotto close by, Ursula, the cruel sea witch, an enemy of King Triton, gleefully watched Ariel through her shimmering magic bubble. So little Ariel's in love with a human prince, she said to her. Underlings, a pair of snickering moray eels called Flotsam and Jetsam. Triton's daughter would make a fine addition to my little garden with her long black tentacles. Triton's daughter would make a fine addition to my little garden. With her long black tentacles, she gestured down towards the shriveled gray souls of her merpeople's victims, ensnared in the weeds. Who knows, she continued, that the little mermaid's disobedience may be the key to my defeating Triton. A few days later, King Triton called for Sebastian. Ariel's been acting very peculiar, he said. You know, mooning about and singing to herself. I suspect she's in love. Have you been keeping something from me? I tried to stop her, Sebastian cried. I told her to stay away from humans. Humans? Triton gasped. What about humans? Who said anything about humans? Sebastian asked sheepishly. Triton glared. Maybe you'd better tell me what's going on. When King Triton heard everything Sebastian had to tell, he stormed over to Ariel's cave, found her inside, singing softly to Eric's statue. I consider myself a reasonable merman, Triton thundered, but the contract between the mer world and the human world is strictly... I said contract. But but contact between the mer world and human world is strictly forbidden. Why did you have to disobey me and rescue that human? I had to. He would have died, protested Ariel. One less fish-eater to worry about. Her father roared. Ariel admitted the truth at last. Daddy, I love him. Triton was stunned. I'm going to get through to you, he said, raising his trident. And if this is the only way, so be it. Daddy, no, begged Ariel. Bolts of lightning shot from the trident, shattering all of Ariel's treasures one by one. Finally, Triton leveled the staff at the statue and completely destroyed it. Ariel fell to the cave floor and sobbed. After Triton had gone, Flotsam and Jetsam slithered out from behind a rock. Poor sweet child, said Flotsam. You have a serious problem. But we know someone who can help, added Jetsam. Someone who can make all your dreams come true. Ariel looked up at the eels uneasily. I don't understand. Ursula has great powers, Flotsam said slyly. The sea witch? Ariel asked, horrified. No, I couldn't possibly. Ariel paused when she looked down and saw what remained of Eric's statue. Flotsam and Jetsam crept closer. Imagine, they said, you and your prince together. Forever. Outside the cave, Flounder and Sebastian were startled to see the eel swim past, followed by Ariel. What are you doing with this riffraff? Sebastian demanded. I'm going to see Ursula, Ariel replied. Why don't you tell my father? You're good at that. Tagging along fearfully, they followed Ariel to the dark grotto and were revolted by the sight of gray wormy creatures reaching out for help. Come right in, angelfish, said Ursula, ushering Ariel into her lair. I hear you're in love with a human. Well, dearie, your problem is the solution to your problem is simple. You must become human too. Ariel gasped. Can you do that? Of course, Ursula chuckled. It's what I do. I confess I've been nasty in the past, but now I live to help poor little needy merfolk like you. Ursula wrapped Ariel in one of her long tentacles and squeezed her close. Here's the deal. I'll make you a potion that will turn you into a human for 3 days. If dear old Princey kisses you before sunset on the 3rd day, you'll be human forever. But if he doesn't, she said, squeezing tighter, then you'll turn back into a mermaid and belong to me. But if I become human, Ariel realized with alarm, I'll never be with my fathers or sisters again. That's right, but you'll have your man, Ursula persisted. Life is full of tough choices, isn't it? And there's one more thing. Sweet cakes, We haven't discussed payment. But I don't have anything, Ariel protested. All I have... Sorry. Oh, it's just a token, a trifle. You'll never miss it. What I want is your voice. Ursula whipped out a golden scroll. Just sign here. Ariel wavered with the fishbone quill in her hand. Then she cringed and quickly signed her name. A wise decision, said Ursula. She bent over a black cauldron and, stirring the potion, recited a magic spell. A great cloud arose and enveloped Ariel. The little mermaid's voice was sucked from her throat in a swirling golden mist, which floated straight into a shell necklace hanging around Ursula's flabby neck. Laughing maniacally, the sea witch waved her arms over the cauldron. A bright light flashed, and suddenly Ariel's tail was transformed into 2 legs. Ursula gestured towards the entrance. Now you are free to go to your prince, she said. Ariel found that she could barely swim, so Sebastian and Flounder helped push her to the surface. Oh, what a soft shell I'm getting to be, murmured Sebastian. I know I should report this to King Triton at once, but little Ariel is so happy. Okay, what's the next page here? Every day since the storm, Prince Eric had wandered along the shore, searching for a beautiful girl who had rescued him. He's reasonable, Grimsby told him again and again. You must have imagined her. Be reasonable, Grimsby told him again and again. You must have imagined her. I tell you she's real, the prince replied, and when I find her, I'll marry her. One morning, Eric strolled along the beach. Max ran ahead, bouncing right up to a girl relaxing on the sand. I hope he didn't scare you, Eric said to Ariel. Say, you seem very familiar to me. He peered into her eyes. Have we met? Ariel smiled. I knew it, he cried. You're the one I've been looking for. What's your name? Ariel's smile faded as she tried to talk. She put her hand to her throat and shook her head sadly. Eric was crestfallen. You couldn't be who I thought you were, he said. She had a beautiful voice. Believing Ariel had been washed ashore from a shipwreck, he took her to the castle to rest. Instead of resting, the little mermaid spent the day wandering around the castle, marveling at all the treasures. That evening, one of the servants showcased Ariel to her chamber and gave her a gown to wear to dinner. It fit her perfectly, and as she entered the dining room, the prince smiled at her. Grimsby leaned forward and whispered, Isn't she a vision? And she's real? Ariel sat down and noticed a dingle hopper next to her plate. She picked it up and started to comb her hair. Eric burst out laughing. What a funny girl, he commented to Grimsby, combing her hair with a fork. But he thought she was charming and enjoyed her company very much. Eric and Ariel spent the next day exploring the village together. Ariel had never imagined life on land could be so wonderful, and Eric began to forget all about the girl with the beautiful voice. Late in the afternoon, they went rowing and floated into a sparkling lagoon, turning gold in the late sun. Sebastian, Scuttle, and Flounder hid among the tall reeds and watched closely. If only you could speak, Eric said, gazing fondly at Ariel. I'd love to know your name. He closed his eyes and tried to think of a name to suit her. As they passed by, Sebastian perched on a cattail and whispered to the prince, Her name is Ariel. Eric opened his eyes. I know it's Ariel. She nodded. Wait. Was that an error? Anyway, what a lovely name, murmured Eric slowly. He leaned forward to kiss her, but just as their lips were about to touch, splash! The rowboat tipped over, peeking out from behind the overturned boat. Flotsam and Jetsam snickered and swam off. From her shadowy lair, Ursula watched through the magic bubble. Nice work, boys, she chortled. By the time Flotsam and Jetsam slithered back into the cave. Ursula was beside herself with rage. The little tramp! At this rate, he'll kiss her before sunset tomorrow for sure! She screamed at them. She reached into a large clamshell containing her potions. It's time Ursula took matters into her own tentacles. Triton's daughter will be mine. Then I'll make him... Wreath? I don't know how to pronounce that. Anyway, before the eel's eyes, the sea witch transformed herself into a beautiful young woman with shiny black hair. The shell around her necklace began to glow, and she sang in Ariel's clear, mellowest voice. "Call me Vanessa," said Ursula, winking slyly at her two lackeys. Eric stood on his balcony watching the moon rise. He was thinking about Ariel and their wonderful day together when he became aware of the sound of someone singing. He could hardly believe his ears. It was the girl who had rescued him. He ran downstairs and out towards the garden where Ursula, disguised as Vanessa, was waiting for him. Prince Eric was so swept away by the sound of her voice that all thoughts of Ariel vanished. At dawn, he woke Grimsby to tell him he planned to marry Vanessa that very day. When Ariel heard the news, she was broken-hearted. She sat by the water's edge, thinking of her father and regretting the deal she made with Ursula. She looked up sadly as the wedding ship sailed away towards the setting sun. "This is terrible," Sebastian whispered to Flounder. I wonder who the prince is marrying so suddenly." Out of the blue, Scuttle landed next to them, all in a dither. "Listen to this," he said, panting for breath. "I just peeked in the porthole and saw the bride in her cabin. She's really Ursula, the sea witch in disguise, and she's singing with a stolen set of pipes." Sebastian sprang into action. "Ariel," he said, knocking a barrel with a rope attached to it into the water. "Tie the rope around Flounder and hold on to the barrel. He'll tow you out to that ship." He turned to Scuttle. "You must stall the wedding. I'll go and warn the king that something terrible is about to happen." Swimming as fast as his fins could carry him, Flounder finally reached the ship. As Ariel climbed over the rail, she saw that the ceremony had already begun. Vanessa and Prince Eric were standing side by side before the royal minister. "Do you, Eric," he asked, "take Vanessa to be your—" Without any warning, a group of squawking birds, led by Scuttle, flew in from all directions. The alarmed guests scattered, covering their heads as Max barked at their feet. Flapping wildly, Scuttle dove at Vanessa. He snatched away the shell necklace and dropped it to the deck. The sea witch let out a shriek. The golden mist streamed from the broken shell into Ariel's throat. Overwhelmed with joy, she began to sing. Hearing her, Eric rushed to take her in his arms. "It was you all the time," he said, then kissed her. "Too late," Vanessa declared triumphantly and pointed to the horizon. "The sun's already set. Ariel's mine." Oops. There we go. Kind of skipped a page there on accident. The terrified guest recoiled in horror as Vanessa changed back into her true, hideous self. Ariel tried to run but fell. She was a mermaid once again. Helpless, she was dragged by Ursula back into the sea. King Triton emerged from the depths and confronted the sea witch. "Let her go," he demanded. "Not a chance, Triton. She made a deal," Ursula explained, showing him the golden scroll. "It's legal, binding, and watertight. But," she added, "I might be willing to make an exchange for you." Knowing the decision he must make, King Triton pointed his glowing trident at the scroll. With a blinding bolt, Ariel's name changed to his own. "At last!" Ursula cried, grabbing the trident and placing his golden crown upon her head. "I'm the ruler of all the seas." Triton fell at her feet and slowly began to shrivel up. "Daddy!" Ariel screamed as she leapt at Ursula. She saw Eric swimming underwater towards them, aiming a harpoon. Before Ursula could react, he struck her in the arm. "You little fool!" she yelled with a roaring gush. Ursula grew to an enormous size and burst through the water's surface. She stirred the sea with the trident into a raging whirlpool that swept Eric away and sucked Ariel to the bottom. Above, a violent storm broke out, and the sky turned black. The swirling water caught Eric's sunken ship and spun it towards the surface. Like a drawn dagger, the broken mast surged upward. Eric grabbed the rope of it, dangling over the ship's side, and pulled himself aboard. Ariel clung to a rock at the bottom of the whirlpool. "Goodbye, sweet cakes," Ursula said, aiming the trident at her. Throwing his weight against the wheel, Eric steered straight at the sea witch looming before him. The ship lurched forward on a great wave, impaling her on the mast. At the same instant, flashes of lightning struck the golden crown on her head. There was a blinding explosion. In seconds, all that was left of Ursula was a charred tentacle floating on the water. The sea witch's spell was broken. All of her captives turned back into mermen and mermaids. As the trident settled down near Ursula's cave, Triton snatched it up. Once again, he took his place as ruler of the underwater world. The following day, King Triton summoned Sebastian to his throne room. "I see now that Ariel and Prince Eric truly love another," he said. "I've decided to make her human and let her go." "A good choice, Your Majesty," said Sebastian. "I always say children have to be free to live their own lives." Triton laughed. "Oh, is that what you say? The only trouble," he added sadly. "Oh, is that what you say? The only trouble," he added sadly, "is how much I'm going to miss her." At sunset, before the wedding ship sailed, Ariel said goodbye to Flounder, Sebastian, and Scuttle. "I'll never forget you," she told them. One by one, she hugged her 6 sisters. King Triton blinked back tears and smiled. Ariel threw her arms around his neck and kissed him. "I love you, Daddy," she whispered. As all the merpeople waved farewell, Ariel felt truly happy. She would miss them all, but now she would hold their memories in her heart and treasure them forever. Whoops. There I go again with the pages. The end. Here's some history about the book and movie. And the next story, in case the accidental page flip didn't give it away, we'll be reading in the next video, will be Beauty and the Beast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to y'all later.